Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne's Sharp World, where today we are taking a look at the top 10 all-time best Civivi pocket knives, and we are in for quite a doozy today. Now, I think I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably looking at what's on the table here, and you're thinking to yourself, Wayne, you're doing a top 10 knife list, and you already have 5 knives on the table. What the hell's the matter with you? Well, there's a lot that's the matter with me, but that aside, what's going on in this video is these are not the top 10 knives. See, the thing with Civivi, guys, is they've had such a long, pretty amazing history right now within the world of budget knives. They haven't been around forever, but boy, oh boy, have they left such a massive footprint that they continue to build on. I've got some honorable mentions. Now, we're going to blaze through the honorable mentions here pretty quick. But it's just, it's kind of crazy that these 4 knives right here are not in the top 10. Just to kind of put it into perspective of just how many good Civivi knives there are out there. There is a ton, but we're going to go through my favorite, my personal top 10 all-time best. But first, let's crank through these honorable mentions. This here is the Civivi Cogent. This is the Civivi Praxis. This one here is the Civivi Altus. And then this next guy right here, this is one that really hurt me to not put it in the top 10. This is the Civivi Brazen. Now, if you guys know me well enough, if you've watched my channel long enough, you know that the Brazen's a little more special to me because it was one of the gifts that I gave to all the groomsmen in my wedding when I was, a little newer to at least the YouTube scene. I was still, the channel was a little young. I was not rich. I'm still not rich, unfortunately. But I wanted to give everyone a nice knife, and the Brazen was just, it was the one I chose. I just thought it was very clean, classy, simple, and it's still an amazing knife. That's what's frustrating is all these knives are so good for what they are. For a $50 to $60 knife, these are amazing, or maybe $50 to $69. They're fantastic. But they're kind of just been passed. This is kind of the older age Civivi. So again, Brazen, Altus, Praxis, Cogent, all of these are great knives. Then you have these are a little newer. This is the Tranquil here, and then this guy here is the Amirite. Now, what I love about these knives is they're bigger knives. You guys know I love bigger knives. They feel amazing in hand. Civivi has put a lot of emphasis on ergos over the past year or so. Both of these knives are within the past year and a half. The ergos are just so good. The perfect choil position, the perfect thickness and everything. The button lock action. This thing here, this Amirite is a slicing beast. But these are 5 knives that I just really love. 6 knives. Good Lord. I've been saying 5 knives, 6 knives. They're awesome. So I wanted to say something about them. They'll all be linked below. You can't go wrong with any of the knives in this list, guys. Civivi is about as good as it comes when it comes to consistently good quality. To where the odds of you getting a lemon from Civivi are extremely low. The odds are always there because, we are talking knives under $100, well under $100. And that's going to happen with any budget knife, whether you are talking American-made, which there's not really a lot of good American-made budget knives, but it doesn't matter where they come from. If there's just always that chance. But from my experience, Civivi has by far and away the lowest lemon rate. We'll put. But now let's get into it. Okay, we're already almost 4 minutes into this video. Let's take a look at the top 10, starting at number 10 with this guy here, the Civivi Synergy3. Now, this really could easily have been an honorable mention, and I could have put either the Tranquil or the Amirite in the top 10, because while I love this knife, I love the uniqueness of it. I like the shape, the contouring on the scales, the milling, or the texture, however they get it on there. This amazingly thin and slicey blade. I think it's a beautiful knife, but it's one of the more expensive Civivis out there. For just, I believe this is 14C. Nitro V. For Nitro V and G10, we're looking at like $93 for this knife, which it's definitely not the best value Civivi. It's probably, in all honesty, it's probably the worst value Civivi out there. But I really do like it. It carries great in the pocket, feels really good in the hand, and it just looks, I love the aesthetics of this knife. I love the design language. It's still a winner for me. I really, really enjoy it. So that's why it's in the top 10. At number 10, the Civivi Synergy. And it also has some amazing flipping action. I really, really love the flipper design on this. Just effortless. And the area up here kind of makes for a nice little choil area. So just feels incredible in my hand. Really love it. The Civivi Synergy3. And I will try to not say Civivi all the time. This is clearly a Civivi video, so they're all going to be Civivi. So I'll try and stop that madness. This here is the Tactix. Now, what Civivi has been doing really, really good recently has been making big knives. And that makes me very happy. That's why you're going to see a lot of new knives on this video, because I am just really, really digging the big knives coming out of Civivi. And the Tacticorix is a prime example of that. So smooth, blade rockets out, nice, wicked slicey, hollow grind. It's just a really, really good heavy user, good EDC knife. Liner lock, you're going to see a lot of liner locks because I know button locks are cool. Liner locks are still equally as cool, and Civivi does a phenomenal job with their detents and liner locks. So the Tacticorix is just a beast of a knife. And like I said before, guys, I'm not going to be listing the prices for everything. These are all in that, $60 to $79 range. So with the exception of the Synergy 3, which is a little more expensive. But yeah, there's links for everything. Nothing's going to break the bank. And yeah, they're just some really, really darn good knives. I love the blade to handle ratio on this. And I love how the blade seems to be just a hair thicker than any other point of the handle. It kind of makes the blade stand out a little. Kind of looks like almost like a pirate knife or like a Zelda knife. I don't know. We have another Zelda knife to take a look at here in just a second that kind of reminds me of Zelda. But boy, oh boy, it's just a really, really good one. The CIVIV Tacticorix. I like big knives, and I cannot lie, the Tacticorix is easily a top 10 best Civivi knife. Next up here, we have the Tremors knife, I like to refer to it as. This is the Placoid, which kind of just reminds me of Tremors. The big worms that go into the ground, kind of a cult classic. This is just a really, really good knife. Very similar to the Tacticorix in terms of size, just a different blade shape, different handle shape, but really, really enjoyable. It's a good functional EDC shape. It works really well, has a very nice slicey blade and tip, good jimping up here with some really nice thumb studs, and it just works. You got the nice deep carry clip back here to where a big knife you can carry and see very little of the knife in the pocket. So that's very important for me, especially when I'm carrying bigger knives. I like that aspect of a little more concealment. And yeah, just a really, really good one. The Civivi Placoid. A lot of these knives, guys, it's just going to come down to, your personal preference of aesthetics. I've said it plenty of times before, but all of these knives, in terms of quality, are going to be extremely similar and are going to hold up just fine for regular EDC use. It comes down to how big of a knife you want and what do you want it to look like. And for me, the Placoid checks the boxes. It's one that I really do enjoy. Speaking of the Zelda knife, here it is. This is the Civivi Bhaltair coming in at number 7? Number 7. Yeah, number 7. I got lost and I didn't number him. I was, looking back down there. At number 7, we have the Civivi Bhaltair. And this thing here, does this not look like a video game knife? Like someone like Civivi straight in hopped into Nintendo and stole this from Zelda. This thing is just awesome. I love this. Is just a big stinking knife. Close to 4 inches in overall length. Excellent tip for piercing. Just a really cool tactical look that feels good in hand. Has some extra porous texturing up here. It's not that fine press texture. It's a little bigger, a little wider. Easy liner lock access. And a very, very nice thumb stud. Well, there's 2 thumb studs, but the one on the predominant side is very nice. And the flipper here, this knife it comes out so easily. And it's got this choil up here too that you almost don't see at first, but it's definitely a choil, definitely acts as one. And it really helps kind of if you need to choke up on this guy to use it for any detail work. I don't know if you would ever need to use the Bhaltair for detail work. But if you would, you could, and that's a nice little option. But I gotta say, it feels really good just back here. If you want to move up there a little, that's also nice to where you kind of pull your finger back. You just want to be, always be mindful of that sharpened edge because sometimes that can sneak up and get you. But yeah, I just like these big knives that Civivi have been coming out with. They've really kind of just struck a right chord with me. Another knife that you can carry in the pocket and you're going to see very, very little of. Just a beast, a sword of a knife that is very, very concealable, amazing action, and just a really good looking knife. So that is the Bhaltair coming in at number 7. And now we are getting into number 6. And this is a little more of a classic. Number 6. Good Lord. This is the Civivi Conspirator. This was one of the first button locks to come out with Civivi, and arguably, a lot of people would probably put the Conspirator in like their top 3, I would think. This is a very, very popular knife, and for good reason. It just has an excellent design to it. It's very streamlined, very sleek design, but still a good size. We're looking at like, I believe, a 3.5-inch blade. I put the titanium clip on here that you can get from Civivi. I thought that looked really good with the wooden scales. Really slicey blade. Got all the good things going for it. I wouldn't really use that as a choil, just FYI. Probably wouldn't do that. But it feels really good like this. Just your typical regular forward position in the grip. Really, really good. And the flipping action is pretty darn good. The Conspirator is the one knife to where I feel like if there's one knife Civivi could go back and tweak the action to a little, it would be the Conspirator. And the flipping action on the Conspirator is very, very good. I just wish there'd be a little more of a detent feel, a little more of a resistance where that button presses into the blade, where you have to brake to get the blade out. Wish there was just a little more there. But I gotta say, it still holds up very well. It's not a blade you're gonna be able to shake out. Just wish there was a little more there, but I still love the Conspirator. I love how it feels in the hand. I love the simple blade shape and just the overall slicey performance I get from it. It's a very good one, and one that probably a Civivi that I'll always have some version of in the collection because I really do enjoy it that much. That is the Civivi Conspirator. Next up, coming in at number 5, this is the Civivi Sokoke, and this is the one Civivi where I always forget the name of this knife. I always want to call it the Echo, but the Echo is a Ray Laconico design through CGRB, as to where this is a Ray Laconico design through, clearly, Civivi. This is another one, just feels perfect in hand. It's slightly smaller. It's still very much a medium-sized knife. I would not consider this a small knife or a large knife by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just so stinking simple and good. Really, really love this linen micarta that Civivi used in this. I haven't seen them use this a whole lot, but I really, really love how this one turned out. As always, nice deep carry pocket clip, really good liner lock, perfect detent. But this is a prime example of Ray Laconico knowing what he's doing, because the thumb stud placement is perfect on this. Whether you are regularly flicking it out with your thumb or you're using your middle finger to flick the blade out, it's just very easy, very satisfying. And of course, that front flipper is just as good, and it's going to be reach around approved. It's just a fantastic knife, and it's definitely one for someone who may not want a big knife but doesn't want a small sub 3-inch blade. The Sokoke is like the perfect answer to that, because you're looking at like a 3.25-inch blade, so it's not going to be too big. It's more of that normal pocket-friendly size, and it's just so good. Excellent detent, excellent action. Perfect placement of just about everything, and a fully contoured handle to make it very, very comfy in the hand. The Sokoke is a goat for me. It's a really, really good one. One of my all-time favorite Ray Laconico designs. Really, really enjoy the Sokoke a ton. And then the next one is one that people would probably think would be number 1 or number 2. For me, it is number 4, and it is the Vision FG. There's no real rhyme or reason at this point, guys. It gets so hard to place these in the perfect spot because some days I would prefer this knife over the number 1 or number 2 knife, and then other days I would not. Other days I wouldn't even think to carry this. It just really comes down to what I decide to throw in the pocket on any given day. But I think a lot of people would agree this is one of the most fidget-friendly fidget beasts out there. This thing is just so much fun to deploy. It has such a creative lock with the super lock from Snex. It's very, very easy. And this also has amazing sounds. It just makes really, really good sounds to where this thing sounds crisp and dialed in, does not sound cheap or junky or anything that's not good. This knife just is everything about this knife is good. It's just the definition of fun, it's a good value, I think. I believe this is coming in at $69, $69 or $79. Pretty sure 69 though. Just really, really nice. Nice pocket clip placement back here. Carries very well in the pocket, and you also don't really feel that, to my surprise. I thought that would be something that would really bother me, but it's actually a very good placement. It kind of gets the clip more into the crevice of my hand there, so it just feels really good. It looks unique. It's a very functional, very useful blade shape with a nice choil up there, and you can choke up on the blade really good. And again, this really does. This knife here is all about, of course, it can be used very functionally and very easy throughout regular EDC use, but this one here, it's all about this super lock, and it's so good and just so fun. If you haven't experienced the Vision FG, you really need to. You really, really need to, because when I thought I knew what I was getting into, I actually got the knife, and then I was blown away by it. And when I'm blown away by a budget knife after all the stinking knives I handle, it's just impressive. It's very impressive, and it's really, really good. The Vision FG coming in at number 4. Next up here, we are into the podium. Number 3. This is the Civivi Sentinel Strike 2. And I love the original Sentinel Strike. You could also put the original Sentinel Strike here. I'm just 90% of the time, if not 95% of the time, I'm going to favor a drop point over a Wharncliffe. So that's why the Sentinel Strike 2 is here. That's the only difference between the two, is this is a drop point blade with a very, very nice compound grind, as to where the original Sentinel Strike is a Wharncliffe. So that's the only difference there. Other than that, it is just a handful of satisfaction and badassery. This thing is just amazing. Phenomenal action, nice detent for a button lock. You can middle finger flick it, you can thumb flick it, you can regular flip it. And of course, you can always do the good old button lock whip. But yeah, this is just a really good full-size knife, super, super slicey towards the bottom 3/4 of the blade, and then up at that top quarter, you have that flat grind with a nice thin slicey tip. This is just a beautiful blade with great lines, and it feels really good in the hand. So the Sentinel Strike, whether it be the original one or the Sentinel Strike 2, was 100% going to be on this list. And this knife is the one, when I put it in my hand, I always forget how much I like it. It's a big knife. It's also a rather light knife. Again, it's another one. It checks all the boxes, and then it comes at you with that lighter weight. And I don't really put a whole lot into the weight of knives. I've said it before. I think that's one of the most overrated specs on a knife is the weight. Because unless you're wearing like basketball shorts, if you're wearing any type of regular pants and you're wearing a belt, or you're wearing the right size pants like a normal person should, and you're not sagging them below your ass crack, which is very annoying, the weight of a knife is not going to matter. So I don't worry about that. But when I do get a bigger knife in hand and it is nice and light, it's still impressive. It's still that extra little bit of, okay, I don't really care about it, but I like it and I enjoy it. And that's what I get. One of the aspects that really impresses me with the Sentinel Strike 2, and the rest is just the awesome design and super smooth action and good ergos and all the stuff that you get with most Civivi knives. So there's number 3, the Sentinel Strike 2. And ironically enough, number 2 and number 1 are 2 of the newest knives to come out. You guys probably know they're coming. The ExOne, the Brian Brown design ExOne. The reason this is number 2, and I've said it before, but the reason this is number 2 is because this is kind of a smaller knife. It's a 3-inch blade, or 2.99 inches, whatever. The moment they come out with the bigger version of the ExOne, with hopefully a blade cut out in here too, this will be the best Civivi ever made. It just will be. It's not yet because it hasn't happened. I surely hope it's happening. But I love this design. I love this knife. The flipping action on this thing, it's another one where it's got that perfect push button flipper action, crisp detent, and still, even though it's not a blade cutout, it's got that fuller that is just so good to kick that blade out. I just want a little bigger handle. This still feels decent in my hand, but I want a little more of a handle for the rest of my hand, a little fuller purchase. And I would like to replace this clip with probably one of just the regular clips like they have here. I definitely like this on here better. I get it why they went with it. I mean, aesthetically, it works really well. I don't know, just me, or maybe even go with like a titanium milled clip and just mark it up 10, 15 bucks. I'd also be fine with that. But man, oh man, this was just such a good stinking knife when it came out, and it's still every bit as good. Just makes me want a bigger version even more. And man, oh man, I just can't say enough good things about this. All I can do is keep crossing my fingers and hoping that we get the bigger version of the ExOne. So for now, it's number 2, but in the future, you may very well see the ExOne or the X2, maybe a bigger version, call it the X2. You will very likely see that at number 1, if and hopefully when it happens. Now, coming in at number 1, this is a very new piece, and it still has me feeling very, very good. This is the Neurohaptic. This guy, and I've come to the conclusion of this, and I'm just going to say it, and I don't mean, I'm not blaming or trying to point fingers or anything, but I have just fallen in love with the Microtech SOCOM Elite all over again, and I get heavy SOCOM Elite vibes with this knife. It will never be better than the SOCOM Elite. I'm not even trying to go there. The SOCOM Elite is a goat, but to get those vibes in a sub $100 package to where it's still very different. Again, I'm not saying this is a clone or a knockoff or anything like that, but to just get those type of vibes, I really enjoy this thing. It feels really good in the hand. It has by far and away the best button lock action of any Civivi knife ever made. I cannot get enough of this flipping action. It's so good. The detent, the snappiness to it, I guess. It's just so satisfying. Almost feels like there's some type of special detent in there to give it that little bit of resistance and extra pop when it comes out, but there's not. It's just a button lock. I think it's just overall the weight and size of the blade, and maybe something with the internals, but I've looked in there and it's all just the same stuff. It's just the regular notch and the button that goes in. It's nothing special. It just works. It really works on this model. Also love that little choil they snuck in there, because this right here feels really good. You can also obviously get this without Damascus, which is also very nice, much more affordable. Even this version, though, is coming in under $100, like $96, I think. But you can get the regular version for like $69. So phenomenal knife, a great price. The best button lock action you can get from a Civivi, and you just get one hell of a beastly knife that I just think is very cool looking. That feels good, looks good. Carries good in the pocket. You kind of have a little bit of a pommel down here out of G10, which is nice. You can also hook a lanyard to it. And if you don't want that, you can easily grind that off, and then you would have an even more, a more concealable knife. So, not that I probably wouldn't grind it off. That would be a waste of time. But you could if you wanted to. And who knows? Maybe, I may have just talked myself into doing something out of curiosity. But yeah, regardless of that bottom pommel, whether you grind it off or not, this, in my opinion, the Neurohaptic is the best Civivi you can get as of right now. It's my favorite anyway. And that is the list, guys. Let me know what you think of this. Civivi has just done so much in the world of budget knives. They do amazing work, and this was a really fun video to make, and I am super stoked to see how they will raise the bar in 2025, because they always do. They're always one of the companies that raises the bar in 2025. I'm sure they'll be doing that this year as well, and I cannot wait to see it and bring that to you. But that's it, guys. Let me know what you think. Really hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I'm out.